So this is the first hand that we'll review. This is a full ring table, but we only have 6 players in the hand right now. I'm in the cutoff, dealt ace spades, queen of clubs, and we're about 100 big blinds deep. So, villain 2 limps in for 1 big bet. I don't have much information on this player. At this point, we've only had 3 hands, but he's seen all 3 hands that he's played. So I don't want to just look and say that he's playing any 2 cards at this point, but 3 out of 3, he's probably on the looser side of the spectrum. So the question is, what's a good starting point for this player? I'm going to go ahead and kind of set it at 50%. Or that's 45. I'm going to probably go up to about 50%. He didn't raise, and normally at these limits, I think you're going to see raises by at least ace king, and then kings plus, at a minimum. I'll assign some weight. Let's say about 50% to ace queen, queens, and jacks. Because again, I'm playing at a limit where some players, some players are really tight, others are somewhat loose, but in terms of pre-flop raises, some of them will raise ace queen, some of them will raise queens and jacks, almost all of them will raise aces, kings, and ace king hands. So that gives us a total of 47.8 hands. We could add in a few more if we want, but I think that's a good starting point. So I go ahead and raise. I make it 4 big bets in position. Big reason I'm doing this is I want to try to fold out some of these later hands. Now I could have gone, like 10 big bets and really gotten them all to fold, but why risk someone waking up with a hand? 4 big bets is getting the job done. So small blind calls, villain 2 calls, and we see the turn. So I don't think villain 2's range is going to change much. I think it makes it even less likely that he had aces, at least aces, because if a player is going to limp with aces, they typically then wake up and raise at that time. What about villain 4? Villain 4 just called from the blind. So what is his range? Well, let's take a look at it. So villain's range, I only have 3 hands on him, and it's because this is my 3rd hand at the table. He has also played every hand, and he's in the small blind, so he had to at least pay money 3 other times. He has raised. He's put in a pre-flop raise 2 out of 3. Again, in terms of very small sample sizes, this could be an anomaly. It could be well within range, believable range. But I think we will also give him kind of that same type of range. Take out ace king, aces, kings, and ace king. I don't think I'm gonna weight any of the other hands because some people will raise, some people won't, and you'll see that he ends up folding. So our analysis can stop. So where are we in this hand? So we have villain 4 in the small blind. We have Villain 2 in the hijack. And we have my hand, which is Ace Spade, Queen Clubs. So pre-flop, I am pretty good. 45% against this range. Board comes out, 10 of spades, 7 of spades, and 6 of spades. So against their random range, I'm still figured to have the equity favorite at this point. Now what happens? Villain 4 checks. Villain 2 bets pot. So I don't think Villain 1, we can really narrow his range. He did donk flop. Only the one time he could do it, and normally if people donk into you, they have at least a top pair type hand, maybe a middle pair, and he didn't. So he may have missed the flop, he may have connected a little piece of it, but he probably doesn't have a 10. This guy donks into me. So what does he donk bet with? Well, if this is his range, we have 10 of spades, 7 of spades, 6 of spades. We will take out ace spades and queen of clubs. Do people donk with the flush? Do they do it with a straight? Do they do it with a set, 2 pair, over pair? Maybe. I think this is a scary board. I think, if he just checks, he may be afraid of it checking through, or he could be looking to take down the pot. Now I have the ace of spades. So what kind of hands do I think he would do this with? I think top pair is definitely in it. I think top pair with the flush draw is definitely in it, but probably not all top pair hands. I think 10-8, 10-9 is pretty good because it gives him a gut shot as well as top pair. I think Jack 10, Jack Queen, King 10 maybe. Ace 10, would they donk? Maybe. Normally a donk bet's going to be top pair with somewhat of a weaker kicker, so I'm going to take out at least the ace 10s. Take that out or filter it out of his range. What else could we do? Pocket pair below top pair. I think he would donk bet just to kind of see where he's at. What about a middle pair? So a 7, yeah, we'll include that. A weak pair, well, if we include 7s, I'm going to include 6s. Nut flush draw, he doesn't have that because I have the ace. Second nut flush, I'm not sure if he would donk with that or not, so I'll just take it out. And same thing, open end straight draw. Would he necessarily do that, or would he just check and hope I check behind and get a free turn? What about overpair? I think overpair could bet. 2 pair, set, straights, flushes. Maybe. I don't think straight flushes is gonna raise, and maybe not even all of our flushes. So perhaps king queen might not, or the kings. Maybe those won't. Maybe those will just check and see what comes on the turn. So I think at this point we've got almost 50% of hands, and where does that put us? So against this range, my hand is at 46%. I'm behind his range at this point. So he bet 13. I don't want to just call because I do think there are hands. I don't want to call because if I call and spike that spade, I think this player, and if he calls, they're just going to shut down. So I'm going to be aggressive and actually raise pot. Uh, I kind of think 10-8, 10-9 would call. Uh, I think the spades are gonna call. But if this guy's doing it with, let's say, just a 10, so 10 jack, 10 queen, maybe even jacks and queens, I might be able to find a fold. Jacks and pocket jacks, if he has a jack of spades, may call. Uh, but nines and eights, they may fold. So I'm going to be aggressive. I'm going to raise here, um, try to take control of the hand, and this is where he 3-bets me. All right, so villain 1 just completely folded. He's out of the hand. I raised. Now he shoves all in. All right, so what is he going to donk bet and then shove? Well, I don't think he's going to do it with middle pair. And I'm not even sure if he's going to do it with all top pairs. So maybe top pair with the flush draw. Possibly. Overpair with the flush draw. Yeah, I think possibly he'll do that. Would two pair do this? I don't think so. I think two pairs gonna two pair set and possibly even the straight's going to freeze up once I made the raise. Unless this is a crazy player. So based on this, now my hand is at 37% versus his 62%. So let's see what I need to call. So according to Poker Tracker, I need 26% equity to call. We can do this pretty easily because he's putting me all in, and I have 51.40 left. So for me, I am risking 51.40 to win. The what's already in the pot. So what's already in the pot is 68.20 plus that raise 51.40 that he's going to make of me. So I need about 43% equity to make this call correct. Do I have it? No, I don't. I only have 37%, so this should have been an easy fold. Now the question is, what types of hands would I have to put into his range to raise my hand equity up to 43%? Adding in all the sets actually makes it worse. Two pair makes it worse. So maybe, what if we take out the flushes? If he raises, well, would he necessarily raise? I think if he's going to raise those, he'll probably also do sets and two pair. Maybe the overpair, even the non-flush draws. Maybe all top pair. I mean, we have to really get some of these bad cards. So nines and eights. If we add nines and eights, now we start getting break-even equity. If we add middle pair, so sevens, that gets us close. What if we add the second and the third nut flush draw? What if we add the king X, king of spades, or the queen of spades hands? Well, king of spades maybe. I don't think the open-ended straight draws are really going to make this play. I think they're going to be afraid of the spade draw. So when we look at what types of hands would make this play with, I think we have to really start to include some of these really weaker hands. The top pair, even if we take out all of the top pair and just say he'll only do it with top pair that have the flush draw, as well as nines and eights since they kind of have a gut shot, we get close. 42.8. But based on these players, it's probably safe to assume that they're not going crazy like this. So I made my 3-bet. Whether it was right or wrong, we don't know. But once we face this raise, then this hand rating exercise suggests that we should go ahead and make the fold. All right, let's open up our second hand. All right, this is a full ring game. I'm in the big blind with pocket nines. And this one will go 3-way. So villain 4 opens for a raise, 3.4 big blinds. Villain 4, I have 19 hands, or at least this is table session right now. He is currently 53% VPIP, 26% pre-flop raise, 20% 3-bet, and I believe I've played with him before. So let's see if this will update. So I didn't play with him before. This was just first table I've played with him. But if we look at his stats, he is raising 70. He's played 75% of the hands from early position. He's raising 25% of hands. His raise first in is 25% of hand from that early position raise. So this guy's pretty darn wide. Now the question is, what is he going to be raising with? Well, he's probably raising something maybe like this, 13%. I know we say it's 1 out of 4. 25% is probably pretty wide. Maybe something like that. Take out the Jack 9 to get to 24%. And he might be that wide. We'll do 24%. I think that's sufficient. Now, what's kind of interesting is that the button now raises to 5.8 blinds. So we had an open raise, and then we had a button who 3-bets. Button's a big stack, and he right now is 74 with a pre-flop raise of 5%, 1 out of 19. What does he do? So his 3-bets by position on the button, I don't have anything there. And in fact, when we look at his raise first in, it all came from early position. I think this guy's pretty darn tight in order to raise on the button. So the question is, how tight is he? I think a default 3-betting range that I have for him is this. He might not even do it with ace jack. Maybe it's only, jacks plus ace king. I think that could be a reasonable starting hand. Maybe we could add ace queen, ace jack a little bit later. But that's what we have. And right now, when we compare those, definitely I'm behind with 26%. So the question is, what do I want to do? Well, here's a situation where I was planning to 3-bet him because I think he has a pretty wide range. And if we look at this range, we could say, well, if he open raises with 25% of hands, what is he going to call with? And I'm going to save this range so we can get back to it. So we're at 24% is where he's at right now. And if I raise 3-bet, he might get away with, or might try to fold some of these hands, some of these weaker hands. We just don't know. We've got 19 hands on him. So if he only calls with these hands, and we'll say, I think aces, kings, and ace king, he'd probably 4-bet with. Uh, so maybe on those hands, 11.9%. Well, that's what he's going to continue with. So if we do 11.9% out of 24% that he started with, he's going to continue with 49%, so 50%. So 50% of the time he's going to be folding. And I don't even think I'm horrible if he continues with this range. Yeah, he's got overcards, but really with the pocket nines, tens, jacks, and queens, have me beat, have me crushed. But he has to catch on all the rest of these. All right, so let's get back to this range. So I just call here. And the other thing that I consider with the call is that I have to call 4.8 big bets. The effective stacks is mine, 87. So I look at 4.8. I'm thinking I'm going to have to catch. I'm going to have to set mine here. And with set mining, you have to get 10 times that bet. You have to figure to make 10 times that bet to make set mining profitable. So 10 times 4.8 is 48 big blinds. I definitely have that. And I think I might get paid, especially if he has, let's say, an overpair and the flop comes 9 high. I think definitely he'll pay me off. So I call, and we see the flop. 10-7-7. That's actually not absolutely horrible for me. So let's go back. We have 10 of clubs, 7 of clubs, 7 diamonds. Let's see if that updates it. Yep. So right now I'm behind to this range, and I'm behind to that range because of the overcards. So I'm going to check. I don't see of a reason to bet at this point, and this guy now leads 13.2. He bets. Now the question is, what is he going to donk bet with? I don't think quads make sense. I don't think full house makes sense. Why would you take initiative when it's likely that this guy is going to bet? So I think this guy, based on his stats, if he's aggressive pre-flop, he's going to be aggressive on the flop. So I think he's going to be betting his top pair hands. I think over pairs, he'll probably go for like a check raise, but I think he's going to bet his top pair hands, probably pocket pair, probably his weak pair, his flush draws, his open-ended straight draws. I think that is his range. That's what he's betting. Because he's trying to take initiative in the hand. And when you can consider this guy has a very tight raising range to begin with, he probably also has a tight 3-betting range. And this flop doesn't hit that 3-betting range at all. So villain just calls, which is somewhat interesting because the question is, what is he going to call with? Well, really, the only hands he has is an overpair and ace high hands. Now he could have with the flush draw, and maybe he has a backdoor flush draw as well. So maybe he has something like that where he's going to just call. Now the question is he only going to call here? Is he only going to call with aces or kings or queens or jacks? And I just don't. I don't think jacks and queens are going to do that. I think aces and kings might do that just to see what's going to happen on the turn and then proceed from there. So I think for this, I've got 35% hands that he's continuing with. And then it gets to me. So based on this, I'm sitting at 15%. 15% equity what should I do? Well, the bet's 13.2 big blinds. I need 23% equity to call. I'm not getting that. However, what would my implied odds be? If I spike a 9, do I think I would get paid? Yeah, I think I'd get paid. If the turn's an 8, I think that gives me more outs. At this point, I think this guy's might be top pair. I think the nut flush draw even could have gone by and check raised. So I don't want to just fold pocket nines here. I want to see if the turn's going to improve my equity in any way, and proceed from there. I'm still aware of this guy, but I kind of think that this guy should have been raising. Quite a bit. And that actually reminded me, I think he's just going to check the aces and the kings. Uh, or I'm sorry, he's going to raise aces. He's going to raise the aces. No, I had that right. He would raise jacks and queens to try to prevent an ace or a king from coming on the flop. So I had that right. All right, so I called. Now I catch the nine of diamonds, and that's just absolutely fantastic. Probably the best card that I could hope for. And I say that because if this guy was calling with the backdoor flush draw, he now picked up the diamonds. So I'm just going to check. These guys have exhibited strength. And we've got a bet of 43 big blind, so villain 2 folds. So 43 big blinds. Are we going to change what he's betting? Yeah, I don't think he's going to bet full house. I just don't think he's going to do that. And that means he doesn't have any of those big cards. I think he's 2 pair is possible. Would he continue with top pair hand? Yeah, again, based on his aggression, he could easily do that if he thinks I'm calling with the flush draw. I think middle pair would also do that, especially when you look at the range of the middle pair hands. We're talking ace 9, king 9, queen 9, jack 9, 9, 8. Maybe ace 9 doesn't bet. Maybe queen 9 and king 9. But jack 9 has a gut shot. 9, 8 has open-ended straight draw. So I think those are in his betting range. Weak pair, I don't think he's going to be betting that size anymore. Maybe he would. Maybe you can assign some weighting for that for all of those pocket pairs. But the flush draw, is he going to bet the flush drop? Yeah, I kind of think he's going to be betting all of those again, along with the open-ended straight draw. And the gut shot, probably not. I think he's going to have some combo draw. So he's betting 71% of hands. This guy folds the 9, which if he's going to fold, I don't think he's folding any of his over cards. So maybe he had something else. Maybe he had ace queen, ace jack. Maybe that's all I could think of. Maybe he's just calling because he thought he's just taking a stab at the pot. So now it's up to me. Do I just call or do I raise? And I raised. I actually raised all in because, if you note, pot was 57 when we got to this point. And once I hit here, it doesn't make sense for me to call 43 and then have another, like 25 big blinds left. So I just went ahead and shoved. I think when we look at his range, I do think any top pair, any 2 pairs calling I think these middle pairs that we filtered are going to call. Um, I think this could look like I may have, a flush draw. Um, may have sevens. So I think he's probably going to call most of this range, and thus I'm going to get paid off. And what does he do? Yeah, he definitely calls. Uh, Turn was a jack, uh, and you'll see he had king eight. So that's kind of interesting because I didn't have king eight in his opening range at all. So if he open raised with king eight of spades, he's probably also doing it with all the other aces, suited aces. Uh, he may have also be doing it with these one gappers, which again, as we add these hands, it starts to improve how many hands hit the flop and could bet. Now I'm kind of surprised that he continued betting with the king high, but he had the flush draw, and that nine gave him the open-ended straight draw. So was my call on the flop correct? I don't know, tough to say, but I called, not getting the correct pot odds because I felt if I pick up equity on the turn, I could win more money. So change that to an 8. If this was an 8 of diamonds, perhaps. Am I going to play it the same way? Yeah, I think so. I'm more fearful of this guy. I'm more fearful of that guy. So let's change that. Let's say this was the 8 of diamonds. And we're going to clear. Say this guy's not in anymore. So we know that that's what he has. We have 10 of clubs, 7 of clubs, 7 of diamonds, and we'll say we have the 8 of diamonds. Is he still going to bet donk out top pair? Yeah. Top pair below, or pocket pair below, so pocket nines. Yeah, we'll add that in. There's only one other combo in there. We'll take off the filter because it's kind of changed a little bit. But we'll still take off like ace 8 and king 8. We'll leave the 9-8 and we'll leave the 9-6. I think we'll leave the weak pair. We'll do the all of the flush draws and the open-ended straight draw. So that's still 73%. We have our equity still at 32.7. When he made that bet, 43. Pot odds were giving me 30%. I only needed 30% equity to call. I'm at 33% equity to call. And now I raised even more. So we could kind of look at our shove. So we're planning to shove. So at this point, I think it's 69.8. That's what we have to look for. So we're doing 69.8 big blind. That's what we're risking. I'm expecting to win. What's in the pot right now? So actually we'll make it easy. So we'll do 69.8 times 2. So that's my bet and his call along with the 57.4 that's already in the pot. So 35% with my raise, and we can look at this and say, okay, if I shove, is he going to call with this entire range? Maybe if he does, then maybe my shove wasn't the best play. If it was an 8, but maybe he doesn't call everything. Maybe he gets scared and says, okay, I'm only going to call with the ace and the kings. So we'll leave the Jack 9. Well, Jack 9's already a straight. So we'll take out a bunch of those, and I don't think that worked quite. Ten nine. Ten nine. Jack 9. We'll do that. We'll take out the middle pairs. We'll leave the pocket pairs. The turned diamonds, I think we'll leave ace 10. I think we'll take those out. Are all the top pairs calling? I don't think all the top pairs are calling. I think the 9 calls. The 2 pairs, 10-8 will call. Straight. We took this. I think I'll leave the straight in. So at that, we're at 51%. If he restricts his range. But I think that the decision point would have been on the turn. I can't just call and then fold to another 25. So I think once this bet was made, I have to decide, do I want to take it to the river or not, if this card was an 8. All right, those are 2 hands. Try to do some range analysis with it. I'm not sure if you agree with all the ranges, but this is day 1 of a hand reading challenge.